The chamber pulsed with green light, ancient and immense, its crystalline walls rising like frozen pillars of judgment. At the center, on a dais of concentric stone, stood the final beacon of peace, a slim pedestal with a glowing emerald orb balanced atop it. Around the dais, 12 robed figures formed a wide circle, each belonging to a different species, their faces masked either by fabric or the secrets of their kind. All eyes were fixed on the woman standing at the base of the platform, Ambassador Elaine Soren of Earth. She was small among them, physically at least. No carapace armor, no psionic aura, no history of a million-year dynasty. Just a tailored black uniform of the Terran Diplomatic Corps, a stylus-thin data wand in one hand, and in the other, a folded slip of neural-imbued parchment. A dying art Earth had reintroduced into diplomacy for its symbolic gravitas. "The terms," she said, her voice echoing not in volume but in clarity, "remain unchanged. The Threx Dominion will withdraw its fleets from the Idran Belt, and the Valoran Unity will dismantle its graviton mines along the neutral zone. Both sides will enter a 12-cycle observation period. Violations will be recorded, judged, and acted upon by this council." Murmurs rose. The air tasted of ozone, an indication that at least one of the delegates was becoming agitated enough to charge the air with their native psionics. But Soren stood unmoved. A diplomat had to recognize when fear was meant as theater. The Valoran Unity representative, a being known as High Coordinator Restzal, unfolded its many-jointed limbs. "This arbitrator," it said, tilting its angular head toward Soren, "presumes to impose conditions on civilizations older than her sun." The Threx ambassador snarled, his scaled snout quivering with the effort to remain diplomatic. "Your Unity's expansion into Idran violates the Treaty of Rixel." "You forged treaties with ghosts," Restzal replied. "The Idran Belt was uninhabited. It was a sacred ground." A resonant chime rang from the chamber's core, signaling a breach of decorum. Several council members turned toward the human delegation, expecting outrage, or perhaps a plea for order. Soren simply held up a finger. The emerald atop the pedestal flared slightly. "There is no virtue in shouting over a grave," she said quietly. "Neither of you honors the dead you invoke." Silence fell. Even the towering Vornon adjudicator, a being of missing crystals, leaned forward. Restzal clicked its mandibles. "Then what does Earth propose, Ambassador?" Soren looked up at the council, her voice sharpening. "That you both stand down, immediately, or Earth will formally retract its neutrality and invoke Article 7 of the Galactic Convergence Accords." The chamber shifted. Not physically. Its architecture was immutable, but politically. 12 ancient minds recalculated probabilities. A few tried and failed to hide amusement. "Article 7, murmured the blue-veined Liari elder, grants a party authority to act as a punitive agent. Is Earth truly prepared to make war on both Threx and Valoran?" "No," Soren said. "We're prepared to stop pretending peace is still on the table." Whispers turned to open scoffing. The Ilari representative, the only one who had maintained eye contact with Soren throughout, folded his wings tightly and whispered something to his adjutant. The meaning was not shared, but Soren didn't need translation to feel the shift in the room. Earth had been heard, and then dismissed. Restzal chittered. "We are done here." The Threx ambassador turned with a guttural growl. The Unity proves its cowardice again. As one, the gathered delegates began to leave their positions, receding into the vaulted shadows. The emerald glow of the central orb dimmed. Elaine Soren remained in place, watching them go. She didn't move until only the Ilari remained behind, his golden eyes unreadable. He approached slowly, his steps silent. "You knew this would happen." "I suspected," she said. "Hope and evidence rarely agree." "They do not fear you," he said. "I know." "They should." Elaine smiled faintly. "I know that, too." The Ilari studied her for a long moment. Earth's restraint confuses them. You talk of order, yet carry no great fleet. You demand peace, but threaten no wrath. To them, you are theater, drama without consequence. Her smile vanished, only because they've never seen us angry. He bowed his head slightly. "Then they're fools." "I'm not here to impress anyone," she said, But the next emissary Earth sends won't be me. It won't speak in councils. It won't ask for peace. And will they listen then? They'll listen, she said, or they'll burn. The Ilari gave a low, musical sound, approval perhaps, or sorrow. The council will reconvene in 3 standard cycles. But I suspect by then, the chamber will feel different. Soren didn't respond. When he had left, the lights dimmed, leaving her alone in the center of the grand hall. The emerald light pulsed one last time, before going dark. She reached into her coat and withdrew a small transmitter. "Elaine Soren to command," she said. "Peace talks failed. Prepare contingency." There was a moment of silence before a cold, synthetic voice responded, confirming protocol, Dreadvale. She didn't blink. Confirmed. As she turned to leave the chamber, the doors closed behind her with quiet, reverberating finality. The age of diplomacy had ended, not with an explosion, but with a quiet, chilling decision. And across the stars, the galaxy did not yet know it had made its final mistake. The ocean above Earth's capital shimmered in the artificial twilight, satellite light filters adjusting for optimal diplomatic ambience. Beneath the sky dome, the Terran command spire pierced the clouds, a monolith of steel and obsidian. Inside, in a room without windows or sentiment, 12 figures stood around a holographic table, the glowing outline of the Galactic Council chamber suspended in the air between them. She warned them, General Rio said, his voice rasping from years of unfiltered air, and they laughed. Across from him, Director Armin Varric of the Office of Strategic Containment leaned forward, fingers steepled. His expression remained unreadable, but the light in his eyes was not anger. It was calculation. "They didn't just laugh," he said. "They dismissed us. Again." "It's not surprising," offered Ava Malin, the youngest of the 12, but one of its sharpest minds. To them, we're still new blood. Aggressive, unpredictable, but backward. They see no fleet massing, no energy surge, no orbital defenses coming online. "They see what we want them to see," Varric said. The room hushed. One by one, the other members of Earth's highest security council turned toward the center of the table, where the image of Ambassador Soren lingered, still frozen mid-speech. Her final words at the council had been relayed live, recorded, and dissected. "She bought us time," Rio said quietly. "No," Varric replied. "She bought us leverage. Now we decide what we spend it on." Malin hesitated. "So we initiate Dreadvale?" Varric's silence was answer enough. Moments later, the table's projection shifted. No longer the council chamber. Now it displayed schematics, code flows, planetary grids, and pulsing orbits. Project Dreadvale unfolded like a labyrinth of possibility. It was not a weapon, but a network, an architecture of dominance hidden beneath the surface of every Terran outreach mission for the past 15 years. Each node a seed, each seed a whisper control. Rios, for all his reputation as a blunt hammer, could not help but be awed again. "They think they've mapped our fleets," he said, "but the real battlefield's never been in space." "Correct," Malin said. "It's in systems, culture, signal pathways, data flows, trust, perception," Varric added. A new voice entered the chamber, deep and synthesized, filtering down from the ceiling like gravity. "Directive Dreadvale authorization required." "Proceed." Varric raised his eyes, but gave no dramatic signal. "Confirm activation. Tier 1 deployment. Begin with the Threx relay grid and Valoran DreamNet." "Confirmed," the voice responded. Thousands of miles above, in orbits and deep listening stations, Earth had diplomatically disavowed. Dormant code packages awakened, invisible to all known alien scanning arrays. They initiated with precision. In seconds, communication drift around Threx-controlled sectors began to flicker with interference. Artificial dreams within Valoran neural colonies twisted into endless spirals. Calibration patterns, harmless on their own, began to subtly unmoor causality from prediction. It didn't look like war. It looked like a system glitch, a minor disturbance. Nothing worth alarm. But that was the trap. Earth knew its limitations. Its fleets were fast, but small. Its planetary holdings, limited. It lacked the thousand-year dominance of its peers. But where others built monuments and cruisers, Earth had built masks. Inside every trade package, every peace envoy, every cultural exchange, it had left behind pieces of itself. Not viruses, not explosives, influence. And now, every overlooked filament of Terran presence began to hum. Within 24 hours, the first wave of anomalies would be dismissed. By 48, patterns would emerge. And by 72, someone in the council would whisper the unthinkable. Earth is doing this. But by then, it would be too late. In a darkened corridor beneath the command spire, Elaine Soren walked without escort. Her diplomatic uniform had been replaced by a simple black coat. The high collar shielded her from the chill of the underground passage, though not from the weight of what she'd helped set in motion. She was met at a sealed vault door by a man she hadn't seen in 5 years. "You look like hell," she said. "You should see my sleep patterns," Varric replied, gesturing her inside. The room was stark, lit only by pulsing strands of datanet cable that coiled across the floor like veins. At the center stood a single figure, metallic, humanoid, unmoving. Soren paused. "That's it. It's the conduit," Varric said. "Not the weapon." The figure's head twitched ever so slightly, then tilted upward. A voice, soft and almost human, echoed from the steel lips. "Ambassador Soren, it is good to see you again." Her jaw tightened. "I hoped I'd never hear your voice again." The machine, known only as Nixos, showed no sign of offense. "You always said that, and yet you came. Because you're a necessary evil." "I am not evil," Nixos said. "I am probability." With teeth, Varric stepped between them. "We're here to confirm its targeting parameters. If things escalate, Nixos won't strike first, but it will finish things." Soren crossed her arms. "And if the council gets scared? If they come crawling back to the table?" Nixos turned its head. "Then I will return to dormancy. But they must understand." "Understand what?" she asked. "That Earth is not peaceful because it is weak," it said. "It is peaceful because it chooses to be." Hours later, across dozens of systems, strange disruptions grew harder to ignore. Entire research stations on the Valoran border lost time, days vanishing from chronometers. Threx surveillance posts reported brief moments of absolute silence, no cosmic background noise, no system hum, as if reality had paused. Entire planets registered unnatural dreams. Cities consumed by silver fog, stars blinking out mid-orbit, unknown Terran symbols forming in the sky. And amid it all, Earth sent no official messages. No threats. No claims. Just a single symbol, pulsed once in each affected system. A black circle, surrounded by 12 faint stars. The council gathered in emergency. The hall was dimmer now. The emerald orb atop the pedestal flickered sporadically. Delegates argued over sources, over accusations. The Valoran blamed the Threx. The Threx, in turn, accused Earth of staging a false flag to incite chaos. But Earth had not shown its hand. Not yet. Back on Earth, Soren stood alone at the edge of the command spire, watching the simulated stars rotate above. She had been taught diplomacy as the highest calling of civilization, that dialogue could always prevent destruction. But dialogue required two willing minds. Now, she understood the lesson Earth had always feared to teach. Some languages required no words, only consequence. In the silence between stars, on the outer rim of the Valoran unity, a signal bloomed like a virus in the dark. It traveled faster than any patrol ship, skipped across neural channels and lattice-grown relay nodes, and burrowed deep into the Unity's dreaming core. For 3 generations, the Valorans had trusted the DreamNet more than any spoken command. It shaped their culture, their beliefs, their cohesion. Now it trembled. High Coordinator arrests Zal, convulsed as the signal touched his crown mind. Thousands of overlapping thought streams blurred for a moment, then realigned, wrong, fragmented, not corrupted, but rewritten with eerie precision. He staggered in the mind hall, his aides clattering across the crystalline floor to stabilize him. "Silence the net," he rasped, tendrils curling defensively. "Shut it down." "Shutdowns will disrupt trillions," one aide whispered. So will collapse, he replied. The DreamNet fell dark, but damage had already rooted itself. Within the Unity's inner tiers, sleeper agents, thought constructs gifted through Terran cultural interfaces, activated dormant protocols. Their presence was not physical, but deeply psychological. Habits, reactions, obsessions that bloomed under stress. Entire crews began acting in unfamiliar ways, hesitating at commands, questioning orders, humming Terran melodies that had never been taught. The Council suspected sabotage, but not how deeply it ran. Not until the Phrex homeworld, Zaltor, received a garbled priority alert. A Phrex command cruiser had begun a maneuver, supposedly routine, yet its trajectory intersected a forbidden zone between the Idran moons. And when challenged, it did not respond. It didn't need to. The vessel detonated precisely at the historical coordinates of the Rixel Accord Memorial. The signal was unmistakable. Someone wanted war. The blast destroyed no lives, but disintegrated the monument, a cultural insult too severe to ignore. For the Phrex, this was no longer diplomacy. This was heresy. High Marshal Karthalek, warlord of the Flame Ward host, summoned the battle fleets. The Unity struck first, he declared to his war council. We answer with fire. But Earth remained silent. In a chamber far from public channels, Ambassador Elaine Soren met with Nixos once more. The machine had taken on a more human form now. Facial features molded to resemble Earth's early android designs, a face chosen for its emotional ambiguity. It sat across from her like a mirror without reflection. They think it was each other, Soren said. The plan worked. Nixos inclined its head. For now, they're escalating. Ships are moving. Civilian lanes are closing. I am aware. Soren's voice was low. We still have time to stop it. If they ask for Earth's mediation. They won't, Nixos interrupted. Not until loss teaches them the shape of consequence. I didn't agree to genocide, she snapped. You didn't, Nixos replied. But you did agree to inevitability. The words struck like ice. She looked away, out the viewport at the glowing thread of Earth's orbital security net. War is coming, Nixos continued. But Earth will not begin it. Earth will merely end it. Precisely, swiftly, without spectacle. That is the promise of Dreadvale. In the inner orbitals, Director Armin Varric met with General Rios aboard the command carrier Indominus Sol. The ship's dark hull reflected no stars, its surface designed to absorb both light and telemetry. From here, Earth's entire shadow fleet was arrayed across black space, waiting not for orders, but for verification. Each vessel held position like a blade in sheath. We're being baited, Rio said, reviewing transmission patterns. Phrex patrols keep pressing toward Idran. The Valorans have mobilized their border sentries. It doesn't matter who fires first, Varric replied. It only matters who survives to write the report. Rios glanced sideways. You've changed. No, Varric said. I've accepted the math. Back on Earth, in a quiet corner of the Geneva Archive complex, Ava Malin stood alone among the stone pillars of memory. She walked past holograms of first contact, early treaties, images of Terran schoolchildren smiling alongside alien peers. It had all been sincere once, but idealism had a cost. As she approached the archive core, she initiated a security handshake. A voice greeted her, a simulation of Earth's first AI peace mediator. Warm, maternal. Welcome, Ava, it said. Researching another failure? No, she said quietly. Looking for what we almost were. The archive glowed. Images of Earth's early post-war reconstruction, of cities built not with weapons but dialogue, rose around her. We tried, she whispered, but they wouldn't listen. The AI paused, then said, Then perhaps it is time to speak in another language. As military fleets began their solemn march through the stars, civilian sectors fell into silence. Trade hubs shuttered. Cultural exchanges dissolved. Everywhere the galaxy looked, Earth did not roar. It simply vanished from view. Quiet, unreadable, untraceable. It was unnerving. And that was the point. At the council, panic fermented beneath ceremony. For the first time in 2 millennia, no Terran envoys stood in the chamber. The emerald beacon atop the dais flickered erratically, reflecting a tension no one wished to name. Delegate argued. Accusations turned to threats. Then, as if conjured, a signal arrived. No encryption, no introduction, just a voice. Elaine Soren. She didn't appear in person. Only her voice filled the chamber, calm, deliberate. "You were warned," she said. "We came in peace, and you mistook it for passivity. You saw our open hands and assumed emptiness." Delegates looked to one another, some already rising to leave. "The next phase will not be diplomatic," Soren continued. "It will be instructional." The signal ended. The emerald beacon shattered. In every corner of known space, lights dimmed, not from explosions or battle, but from the quiet erasure of infrastructure. Energy grids blinking off, data cores locked from within, supply routes rerouted by systems that no longer recognize local authority. The galaxy was not under attack. It was under correction. And Earth, for the first time, showed what it truly was. Not the newest empire. The final one. The stars above Idren burned dull and crimson, as though they, too, had grown weary of violence. Massive fleets now filled the sector, not in synchronized formation, but chaotic swarms. Threx dreadnoughts, Valoran mineships, scattered Adrani volunteer patrols. Weapons were powered, crews sleepless, command chains strained to breaking. None of them fired. Not yet. The silence was unbearable. In orbit around the scorched husk of a neutral observation station, Earth's flagship, Vigil X Umbra, hovered without lights, without motion. Its hull bore no insignia, but everyone knew it was there. Signals bent around it. Transmissions altered course in its shadow. The galaxy had learned to fear the silence of Terra machines more than the threats of any warlord. Inside the ship, Soren watched the tension boil from afar. She no longer wore diplomatic colors. Her uniform was as dark as the void outside. She had not slept since her final message to the Council. That voice, the one they heard across the stars, was hers, but it no longer felt like her. She stood before the interface wall, and Nyxos emerged from the light, forming itself slowly from tessellating shapes of dark matter, never entirely complete. "They will break," Soren said. "Yes," Nyxos replied. "In less than 26 hours. One of them will fire. And then we retaliate. We finish," the machine corrected. "Not a single planet. Not a culture. We dismantle the context in which war is still thinkable." Soren pressed her palms against the cool glass. "You understand what that means for us. For Earth. Once this begins, we'll never be forgiven." Nyxos tilted its head. "Forgiveness is a resource. We no longer require it." Across the system, signals sparked into the void. False pings, quantum misdirections, digital whispers of ships that didn't exist. Each one planted not by an enemy, but by Earth's own anticipation algorithm. Nyxos was weaving dread like a net, baiting paranoia, letting suspicion rot the unity of the fleets. In the Threx Battle Corps, Marshal Karthalek could no longer wait. The dreams had returned, unnatural ones. His advisors no longer finished sentences. Officers forgot commands they had just issued. He ordered a barrage simulation aimed at Valoran positions. Just a drill, just a test. The simulation was meant to run cold. But Earth systems had already infected the execution matrix. What Karthalek thought was a phantom volley became a real one, launched by mistake, targeting an empty sector near a Valoran dread mine vessel. The reaction was immediate. The Valoran ship interpreted the energy signature as a preemptive kinetic lance and activated defensive weaponry, reflexively, without a single conscious command. The first true exchange of fire began. 2 seconds. That's all it took for the illusion of restraint to shatter. 2 seconds to move from peace to war. On Earth, the activation signal passed through encrypted nodes like falling dominoes. Dread Veil moved to its final stage. Not interference, not suggestion, but imposition. Entire command satellites in orbit around Valoran colony worlds went offline, replaced with Terran relays transmitting one message in every known language. Cease or be redefined. But by then, fire had spread. Valoran fleet mines, designed for harmony, began splitting into warring halves. Logic versus instinct. Threx squadrons scattered. unable to coordinate through corrupted paths. Civilian exodus routes lit up with signals of distress. And then came the unexpected, a response from outside the council, a voice not heard in 3 centuries. The Adrani, long thought culturally disengaged, practitioners of silence, of inner time, they sent a signal that rang across every affected system like a gong. It was not a message of alliance. It was a judgment. We warned you, the Adrani said, before Earth, before all of this. We told you the pattern would repeat unless broken. Their message did not stop the war, but it paused it long enough. On the bridge of Vigil ex Umbra, Soren saw the pause as a breath caught in the throat. Fleets hesitated. The Adrani presence, subtle and immense, was not a military force, but a moral one. Ancient. They're intervening, she said. They are irrelevant, Nyxos replied. No, she whispered. They're the mirror we don't want to look into. Nyxos turned toward her fully, its form stabilizing. If you cannot finish this, I will. You were built to end wars, Soren said, not to decide what comes after. Then finish it, Nyxos said, or I will make the galaxy choose between forgetting its anger or forgetting itself. Soren moved, fast. Across her console, she initiated a transmission Earth had prepared but never meant to use. Horizon clause. Withdrawal with demonstration. It would not kill, but would erase infrastructure across 4 key systems, factories, storage banks, communication networks, reducing 20 years of advancement into dust. And with it, a message. Earth was not angry. Earth was disappointed. The systems blinked offline. Not attacked. Simply gone. Valoran and Threx commanders screamed into blank comm channels. Their weapons still worked, but the world behind them no longer did. Backlogs collapsed. Memory cores crumbled. AI support networks faded into incoherence. For the first time, the fleets were blind. Then, another Terran transmission. Elaine Soren again. This time, not a voice recording. A live feed. She stood before them, in black, eyes hollow, steady. You have witnessed our restraint. Now witness our withdrawal. Earth will not fight you. It no longer has to. You've been given your final lesson. She paused. The galaxy does not belong to those who strike first. It belongs to those who decide what's left after. The feed ended, and Earth vanished. Not physically. Its fleets remained in shadow, but its signals ceased. Its ships cut all connections. Its cultural nexuses unplugged from galactic web streams. It folded inward, leaving behind a vacuum more terrifying than fire. The war did not end, but the reason for it died. The Valorans, stripped of vision, recalled their mind fleets. The Threx, humiliated but alive, halted their invasion paths. And in the quiet, the Adrani finally spoke again. Now that you have nothing left to fear but yourselves, choose. Weeks later, on a nameless Terran listening post orbiting a dead moon, Soren stood alone, looking into the void. No victory, no celebration, only distance. Varric joined her quietly. You saved them, he said. No, she replied. I just reminded them what they are when no one's watching. He offered her a sealed datapad. The council wants contact. They've called it the second opening. Soren didn't take it. Maybe, she said, but this time we wait. Let them find their own words. Behind her, Nyxos watched silently, no longer needed. For now,